The Niles Library is expected to have approximately $12,600,000 in cash and investments on hand on June 30th, 2022, the final day of our 21-22 budget year. At current library spending levels and revenue receipts, we have on hand approximately 24 months of operating funds, as we'll have on June 30th. Therefore, the fund balance is excessive and it's the fiduciary responsibility of the Niles-Maine Library Board to abate this excess back to taxpayers. The Niles-Maine Library Board moves to abate $1 million in taxes back to the Niles-Maine Library taxes on the second installment of the 2021 Cook County property tax.
Okay, is that all? Thank you. Trustee Schoenfeld, do you have any comments?
No comment.
Trustee Rosansky.
My main comment is I have received many comments from residents saying they are totally against this. Thank you.
Okay, do you have any clarification on why they're against it?
Oh, I could. For one, the lack of staff that we have budgeted. That is a priority to the majority of our patrons. They want to have the staff that we have budgeted for hired. And that means instead of worrying about things that are not a priority, worry about the things that are and should be a priority in this library, such as lowering the hiring freeze so we can hire these people that we have jobs budgeted for.
Okay, but this is regarding an abatement.
And I know, and I heard you.
And the purpose of the abatement, or the reason for the abatement?
I know what the reason is. I listened to Joe.
Is because we're overfunded
I
and we're
heard you.
not
Thank you.
following our, okay, so one has nothing to do with the other?
Thank you.
Do you understand? So whether we...
Oh, I understand. Apparently, I don't need things explained to me 5 and 6 times like you do. Yes, I understand. I listened to Joe. I heard Joe. Thank you.
Thank you. Trustee Olson, your turn.
Okay, on I just want to say a few things to just explain why I'm going to vote the way I vote. The extent of the impact of COVID-19 in library operations and its financial position cannot be fully determined as of now. That's just some points to consider. First of all, there's uncertainty of increasing payroll expenses. We'll find out when we talk about union negotiations. Secondly, the budget was already reduced from last year. Next, the fees for various activities will continue to grow. Consequently, costs for operating expenses increase. Next, a reduction in staff hours in all of the departments in administration and marketing and IT, maintenance, YA, outreach, adult, digital services, and more. I can't even name them all. There's been no capital projects under consideration. For example, the imminent need to replace computer hardware. Not even looking at that. Enormous attorney fees just makes me cringe. Need for more security presence in the building. We're just slacking over that. Lack of a fully functional board. This is not a fully functional board. There's 6 of us. Finally, and most importantly, there's no strategic plan. It shows no foresight. Where have we been? Where are we now? And where are we going? And we don't have any of that figured out. We need to abolish the hiring freeze and spend some of this extra money that's floating around, Joe. But since this agenda shows that we will not be addressing any of these issues, I think it's a careless thing to do an abatement at this time. Doesn't mean that it'll never come, but at this time, we have other expenses to take care of. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Trustee Keene.
Yeah, I understand the need to save money at this time. COVID has been hard on everyone, and paying your taxes, I pay my taxes by myself, and it's not easy. But I feel like, unfortunately, the board has spent an exceedingly large amount of money already on a decreased budget for things that don't benefit library patrons, namely the lawyer fees, which are $96,000 plus already, and the year is not over. At the same time, things like programming and staffing are underfunded. I feel it's more beneficial for the library and the residents to not abate this year so we can try and provide what has been asked by them. I did reference 6 emails that I received, and I think all of us received today. That might not have gotten heard because Carolyn talked over me, but aside from the people that gave public comment in person today, we also received 6 emails asking us not to do this abatement because they would like us to use the money for programming and staff. I also agree with Trustees Olson and Rosansky that this isn't a decision that should be made by 6 trustees. It's a decision that should be made by 7 trustees, and 7 trustees that have a strategic plan in place, which is what I have been asking for 4 months. So as much as I would like to give some money back to the taxpayers, I think this time I'm going to have to pass.
Okay, thank you. If there aren't any other comments,
It's 8% of the money we have on hand. We have a big pile of money. We
Excuse me, Joe, didn't
overassessed.
you already
Excuse me.
talk?
Would you please
Didn't
stop
you already
interrupting me? Thank you. You
Didn't
you have no
say,
manners. Thank you.
Carolyn,
Please
people
be
needed to
quiet.
be called on by you? Did you call on him to talk? Did he
I
talk?
asked if there were any further comments, and he
Okay, fine.
started
Then talk,
speaking.
Joe. Okay, Patty.
It's 8% of the money we have in cash and cash equivalents and investments. We'll have 92% less, 92% left. This previous boards for the last 10 years have overassessed and overcharged the taxpayers. That's why we have 24 months of operating funds on hand. That's too much. We need to give it back to the taxpayers. We shouldn't be holding this money. We will not have any, we will not run out of money from our budget for the end of this operating year. We're doing fine. We're $300,000 below budget. So we have the funds. It's the taxpayers' money. It should go back to them.
Thank you. Can we have the vote now, please?
Can I make a comment? I just want to clarify something. Yes?
Oh, by all means.
Okay. So I just need to understand the numbers that you're using, Joe.
Yes.
So if you're on page like 18, I believe, you're looking at the balance sheet. Is that where you're getting your figures?
Yes.
Okay. So the special reserve fund is earmarked and can't be spent on anything except
Right.
what it's to be spent on, right? So I
Right.
don't know that including that in the total
It shouldn't be. because
is
it's-
accurate.
Please stop interrupting.
So I'm concerned about that. And then I do remember Mr. Pritz previously asking or mentioning about putting in the receivables number. There is something about this property tax receivables that isn't sort of really funds that are coming in.
We will have that on hand as of after March 1st when people start paying their, in fact, some people have paid their property taxes. It's due on March 1st, so all of that money's, within 2 weeks, we're going to be getting most of that $3 million.
We never get all of it.
Excuse me.
So anyway,
Excuse me. I'm stating a
just,
fact. I've been on this board for over 6 years. I know the fact here.
so I just want to make sure that, that we're not overstating the amount of money that we really
No.
have to spend. I just,
I agree, Cindy.
just
I think
wanted
it's not right.
I believe we have no problem giving back the $1 million.
We know that, Joe, thank you. Kim, are we going to vote now?
I just wanted to make one comment. The last time the library passed an abatement, the reason that was given, which is the same for today, is that the abatement was possible in part due to available funding that the library has in reserve. Over the last several years, we have been able to build some reserves to ensure that the library could weather any storm. We already know, based on the audit report, that we are 24 months in overfunding for our accounts. So the money is there without affecting the money that is needed to run the library. So I'm just mirroring the statement that was made when we passed an abatement in, I believe it was May of 2020. So
Can you
that,
provide a copy of that document?
actually you can get it out of the Niles Herald Spectator.
Can I make a statement, please?
Please do.
Don't bother.
No, I just, I have to just say it. Yeah, I was part of the board, and so were you.
Yes, I was.
That gave an abatement back, but I want to remind you of the climate at that time. We hadn't fired or asked certain people to leave. We didn't get rid of so many staff members. We didn't urge them to leave. We didn't cut the budget. We didn't stop giving money to different departments. We were a solvent community, a happy community. It doesn't exist now. And to take money from the poor and give to the rich or whatever,
Whatever,
it doesn't make any sense.
whatever.
I would also like to comment.
Cindy wants to vote.
You just can't compare the two situations.
No, I do also just want to remember that, keep referencing the fund balance policy. And I think, again, that's something that hasn't been reviewed. It was created in a different time. And I'm not saying that there's anything wrong with it, but I'm saying we haven't reviewed it. So I think making, big decisions based on today's climate, based on fund policies that were created in the past, is just something that maybe as we go forward, we need to look at that policy as well, to make sure it
Actually,
still fits the atmosphere that we're in. and the times.
Atmosphere, I'm not sure I understand.
Well, the
atmosphere.
economy and the
Oh,
times that we're in,
The
right,
economy?
yeah.
Okay, well, actually, the statutes also, there are state laws that you cannot maintain such large overfunded balances. That's why other governmental entities have been required to bring down their cash flows. So that
I don't think
may
we've
be
been
old-
chastised for that. We've gotten letters on other items, but I don't
No,
think,
no, I'm
nobody's
breaking laws?
given
Come
us a
on.
letter about our fund
Well,
balances.
you don't get letters, they don't know
Oh,
what's
okay.
going on until somebody reports you. But the fact of the matter is, there are laws about being overfunded as a governmental entity. So the fact that we haven't reviewed what our current bylaw indicates doesn't mean it's outdated.
Fund policy.
Right, or the fund policy, that doesn't mean it's outdated.
I'm just saying we
Because-
need to review it.
We
That's
can
all.
review it at some point, but it
Yeah.
doesn't mean it needs to change. It's still important that you can't take tax dollars from the taxpayers that you don't need. Again, we're sitting on
Again.
All right, let's
easily
vote.
12 million.
Can we vote so we can get to the executive session, please?
Margaret, please call the roll.
Oh, can you say the amendment again, please? What is the amendment?
There's no
I mean,
amendment.
Is there a amendment?
It's the agenda
No
item.
amendment.
Agenda
Okay.
item.
No amendment.
Just move to,
Yeah, just take the vote.
okay.
Ready? Trustee Derblick?
Yes.
Trustee Schoenfeld?
Yes.
Trustee Makula?
Yes?
Trustee
No.
Rozanski, no. Trustee Olson?
No.
Trustee Keane?
No.
3-3, and it fails.
Thank you.
Okay,